12 Rules for Life, An Antidote to Chaos by Jordan B. Peterson.
Fancy a marshmallow? How about this? You can have one marshmallow now, or two marshmallows in a quarter of an hour. You can wait 15 minutes to get the extra marshmallow, right? But could a 4-year-old do it? That's what happened in the famous marshmallow test. Researchers at Stanford University told the kids that they had to stay in the room with the marshmallow for the full 15 minutes in order to get the treat. Many of the kids caved in and just ate it. They couldn't wait. For those who managed to control their urge, the researchers amazingly discovered that 20 years later, those same kids had better educational results, better jobs, and higher incomes than those who hadn't been able to resist the temptation. So what makes a 4-year-old kid who manages to resist eating a marshmallow more successful when they grow up? Jordan Peterson has the answer in Rule 7. Pursue what's meaningful, not what's expedient. From kids eating marshmallows to squirrels hiding nuts. One of the biggest differences between animals and people is that animals are always living in the present, but we humans can imagine the future. Squirrels hide nuts, not because they're thinking that they'll be glad of them come the winter, but because it's just automatic, instinctual behaviour. But we, in contrast, can consciously plan and undertake work to benefit ourselves and others at a later time. Jordan Peterson believes the key to your success depends on your ability to sacrifice immediate pleasure for the sake of a better future. According to Peterson, the secret of success was painstakingly figured out by our distant ancestors over tens of thousands of years. They observed successful and unsuccessful people living out their lives and homed in on the recipe for success. Our ancestors had to find out what worked through a process of trial and error. For example, imagine a member of a hunter-gatherer tribe catching an animal. He's got a few options open to him. He could eat it all right now. He could eat some now and save some for later. He could give some meat to his friend. Depending on which course of action he takes, he might then notice that things turn out differently. If he eats it all right now, it benefits him immediately and he's got a full belly for a while. But that's it. If he saves some, then when he gets hungry later on, he'll have some food to eat and he won't need to worry about finding more food. If he gives some meat to his friend, this also benefits his future self because his friend will likely return the favour at some point. On top of that, sharing the meat will probably improve the trust and goodwill between him and his friend. It may even improve his reputation with the whole tribe. To our ancestors, it might have felt like there was a judgmental figure in the sky who rewarded sacrifice and delay. Delaying gratification feels like you're making a deal with the future. So once our ancestors had cottoned on to this idea, how did they communicate it to future generations? The best-selling fiction book of all time is Lord of the Rings. It's outsold the best-selling non-fiction book by more than 2 to 1. The reason? We love a good story. We've evolved to be fascinated by stories. For millions of years, this was the main way important information was passed from one person to another. Important ideas were not usually expressed directly, but implicitly in stories. These stories were told to engrossed audiences by tribe elders around evening campfires. Eventually they were written down, and many very old stories have come to us in ancient texts, such as the Bible. To Jordan Peterson, the Bible is a distillation of moral truths, as opposed to historic or scientific truths, formulated over millennia, expressed implicitly in stories. Sacrifice and delay of gratification crops up again and again in the Bible, for example in the story of the two brothers, Cain and Abel. As a result of making the right decisions in the present and delaying gratification, Abel creates a better and better future for himself. As that future becomes the present, he seems to be dancing his way through life. His crops flourish, he has a happy family and many friends. Cain, on the other hand, struggles to sacrifice and delay effectively. Nothing goes well, and he feels increasingly jealous of his brother. So how do we use the wisdom of sacrifice and delay handed down to us from our ancestors? What does it mean in practical and modern terms? Resisting instant gratification is easier said than done. The problem is that it requires discipline. For example, we all know that there are many benefits to being fit and healthy. You feel better, you look better, you can do more. But in order to get a fit and healthy body, you have to practice sacrifice. And not just once, but continually, over an extended period. You have to resist unbelievably tempting, but ultimately unhealthy foods. You have to invest time and effort going to the gym. Depending on where you started, reward finally comes to your future self 1 or 2 years down the line, which can seem like forever. What's more, the bigger the sacrifice, the better the future gain. The heavier the weights you lift, the bigger your muscles will grow. And it doesn't just apply to keeping fit, it applies to everything. Take the teenager who goes off to study medicine. The years of hard work necessary to qualify as a doctor, the nights staying in studying instead of going to college parties. It's a huge sacrifice. But doing so will make her future so much more financially secure, to say nothing of the sustained meaning she'll enjoy helping others as a doctor. Through sacrifice and delay, we can have a great future and a great life. You can look at life as a series of choices, big and small. Should I have a slice of cake? Should I have another beer? Should I buy something on my credit card? If you can get into the habit of resisting the temptation for immediate gratification, you'll benefit yourself in the days, weeks, and years to come. This effect stacks up like a sonic wave. You can build momentum. Things can really come together. You can find increasingly deep meaning in your life. If the larger the sacrifice, the greater the gain, then what's the ultimate sacrifice for the ultimate gain? The answer, Peterson says, is to sacrifice yourself. But what does he mean? I've got my own anecdote here, which I think is exactly what he's talking about. When I was 24 years old, things were going very badly for me. For a number of years, I hadn't been facing up to my problems. I'd been running away from them. But they'd finally caught up with me. I'd lost my job and had to go back to my parents' house. I didn't know what to do. I couldn't just carry on as normal. I didn't want to go out. I didn't want to see or talk to anybody. After years of making excuses when things had gone wrong, I was finally forced to admit that the problem was with me and that I needed to change. A lot of what I held to be true and unshakable didn't seem so anymore. Life had lost its meaning. I was completely lost. Everything was in flux. I fell into a terrible depression, and at the time I thought I'd never get out of it. This process was unbearably painful, both for me and my parents. Months later, I finally came out the other side. It was like stepping out into the sunshine after a cold, dark and lonely winter. The world seemed fresh and new. I felt like a new person. I'd had to grow up and take on more responsibility. I went back for my final year at university and aced my degree. I'd endured a dark night of the soul and admitted that I was not all that I needed to be or could be. It's difficult to let go of your values because they're an integral part of what makes you you, but it's worth it. But if you're going to burn off a bunch of values, then the next question is, what are you going to replace them with? Up until a few hundred years ago, these kinds of questions were self-evident to people, at least in the West. Pretty much everybody believed in God, and their values and morals were grounded in a religious worldview. The Enlightenment changed all that though. Nothing, not even religious faith, was protected from the rigorous scrutiny of scientific inquiry. As a result, the church was summarily rejected by a great many. Nietzsche famously declared that God was dead. But also rejecting the moral truths of the Bible, which had taken so much time and intellectual effort to develop, left people with no moral burden to bear. People became engulfed in an existential crisis. In the 20th century, communism and fascism filled the God-shaped hole with horrific consequences. The big problem with these collectivist ideologies is that they're based on group identity. Jordan Peterson believes an individualist approach is the answer. If, as an individual, you always try to act in a way which reduces unnecessary suffering, then your life will get better. If everyone does it, then society will get better. You should aim to reduce unnecessary suffering, not just in the present, but in the future too. Consider the consequences of your actions to your future self and for those around you. Sacrifice expediency now, and you can reduce a lot of unnecessary suffering in your future. The more you sacrifice, the better your future will get. If you can make the biggest sacrifices by letting go of those parts of your character and behaviour which are hindering your progress, you'll be able to create a life full of meaning and really worth living. A life which is so good you can set it against necessary suffering, the unavoidable tragedy which comes as part and parcel of the human condition. Pursue what's meaningful, not what's expedient. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe for upcoming videos. Thanks for watching.